You are on your evening walk. Your dog stops at a patch of grass near the sidewalk. Nothing special about it. Just grass. The same grass that has been there every single day for the past 3 years. They put their nose down and go completely still. And you wait. 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds. And then your hand tightens on the leash. You say, "Come on," and you pull them forward. They take 3 reluctant steps, head still turned back toward the grass, and then they resign themselves to moving. You keep your pace. You cover your distance. You get home in exactly the amount of time you planned. And you feel like you did something good for your dog today. You took them out. You got their heart rate up. You burned off their energy. You did the walk. But here is what I want you to sit with for a moment. Your dog came home from that walk, and within 20 minutes they were restless again. Pacing, nudging you, getting into things they should not be getting into. And you cannot figure out why, because you just spent 45 minutes walking them. The problem is not the length of the walk. The problem is what the walk actually was. And once I show you what your dog experiences on a standard leash walk versus what their brain actually needs, you are never going to approach a walk the same way again. Let me start with an analogy. Imagine someone takes you to the Louvre in Paris, the greatest collection of art in the world. Millions of objects spanning thousands of years of human history. And the moment you walk through the doors, they put a blindfold over your eyes and tell you to jog through the hallways. You move through every room. You cover every wing. You complete the full route in record time. And at the end, your guide tells you that you have now been to the Louvre. That is what a standard leash walk is for your dog. Your dog does not experience the world primarily through their eyes. They experience the world through their nose. The olfactory system in a dog's brain is roughly 40 times more developed than yours. They have up to 300 million scent receptors compared to your 6 million. The part of their brain dedicated to analyzing smell is proportionally 40 times larger than the equivalent region in the human brain. When your dog puts their nose to the ground, they are not just smelling, they are reading. They are processing a layered, complex, multi-dimensional information environment that is completely invisible to you. That patch of grass near the sidewalk is not just grass to them. It is a record of every animal that passed by in the last several hours. It tells them the species. It tells them the sex. It tells them the health status. It tells them the emotional state. It tells them the approximate time of the visit. It is a message board, a newspaper, and a social media feed all compressed into a square foot of ground. And when you tug the leash and pull them away from it after 10 seconds, you are pulling them away from the most cognitively rich experience available to them in their entire day. You are taking them through the Louvre blindfolded, and then you are wondering why they still seem unsatisfied when you get home. In 2019, animal behaviorists ran a study that should have permanently changed how we think about walks. They took 20 dogs and split them into 2 groups for a 2-week period. The first group did structured heel work, the traditional good walk, consistent pace, correct position, minimal stopping, maximum distance covered. The second group did what the researchers called nose work, self-directed sniffing. The dogs chose where to stop, what to investigate, and how long to spend on it. The handlers followed. Before and after the 2 weeks, every dog was given a cognitive bias test. The cognitive bias test is a clinically validated measure of whether an animal is in a positive or negative emotional state. It works by presenting the animal with an ambiguous signal and measuring whether they interpret it optimistically or pessimistically. An animal in a positive emotional state approaches ambiguity with confidence. An animal in a chronic negative state approaches it with hesitation and fear. It is one of the most reliable measures of overall psychological well-being available in animal science. The results from the 2019 study were unambiguous. The dogs in the nose work group became measurably more optimistic across the board. Their confidence increased. Their anxiety markers decreased. Their overall emotional state shifted in a positive direction that was detectable in their behavior across multiple contexts, not just during walks. The dogs in the structured heel work group showed zero measurable change in their emotional state. 2 weeks of perfect obedience walking did nothing for their psychological well-being. 2 weeks of following their nose changed how they experienced the world. Now let me tell you why. When your dog is given olfactory freedom, the ability to choose what to sniff, to investigate it fully, to follow a scent trail wherever it leads, their brain activates the dopamine reward pathway. Dopamine is the neurochemical associated with motivation, anticipation, and the drive to explore. It is the chemical that makes investigation feel rewarding. It is the chemical that makes learning feel satisfying. And crucially, dopamine is the chemical that produces the kind of calm, fulfilled tiredness that you actually want your dog to feel after a walk, not the wound up, physically depleted, but mentally frustrated state that comes from marching at heel for 45 minutes on pavement. Structured forward movement activates the cardiovascular system. Self-directed sniffing activates the reward system. And the reward system is what produces genuine psychological fulfillment. Your dog is not just an athlete who needs to run. Your dog is a cognitive being who needs to think. And sniffing is thinking. Now I want to address the frustration that I know many of you are sitting with right now, because I understand the experience of standing on a sidewalk staring at your dog while they spend an uninterrupted 3 minutes investigating an ordinary rock. A rock they have passed 500 times. A rock that is, by every external measure, completely unremarkable. And you're standing there internally calculating how many minutes you have before you need to get home, wondering what on earth could possibly be so interesting about that specific rock on that specific afternoon. But here is the thing. The scent profile of that rock has updated dozens of times since the last time your dog was there. Every animal that walked past left information. Every change in temperature affected how the scent molecules were releasing from the surface. Every shift in the weather changed what your dog could access in that smell. What looks to you like the same boring rock every day is, to your dog, a document that gets rewritten constantly. You would not want someone yanking your phone out of your hands while you were in the middle of reading something. Your dog does not want you yanking them away from theirs. The scent messages they are reading on that rock are as real and as relevant to them as a text message is to you. They just do not have a way to tell you that. So let me give you the framework that fixes this. It is called the sniffari, and it is one of the most impactful things you can do for your dog's psychological health that costs you nothing except a shift in how you approach at least one walk per day. Here is how it works. On at least one walk each day, you surrender the agenda entirely. No route, no pace, no destination. You follow their nose. If they want to stop at the base of a tree for 4 minutes, you wait 4 minutes. If they want to zigzag across a patch of grass tracking the scent trail left by a squirrel 3 hours ago, you zigzag with them. If they want to double back and reinvestigate something they already passed, you go back. You are not in charge of the route on a sniffari. They are. And I want to be very clear about what you will notice when you do this. You will cover significantly less physical ground than your standard walk. You may walk a third of your usual distance in the same amount of time, and your dog will come home more tired than they do from any walk you have ever taken them on. Not physically exhausted, neurologically satisfied. There is a distinction that most dog owners have never been taught, and it is the most important concept in understanding what your dog actually needs. Mental fatigue is vastly more exhausting than physical fatigue. 20 minutes of intense, self-directed sniffing will tire out a high-energy dog more completely than an hour of jogging on pavement. Because 20 minutes of sniffing requires sustained, high-level cognitive processing. Their brain is working at full capacity the entire time, cross-referencing scent data, building spatial maps, updating their information about the environment, processing emotional signals from other animals. That is not passive. That is genuinely hard mental work. And when genuinely hard mental work is done well, what follows is genuine rest. Not the restless, itchy, unsatisfied state that follows a walk where their body moves, but their brain was never engaged. Genuine calm, genuine contentment, the kind of settled, peaceful tiredness that actually lasts when you get home. Now I want to give you a fuller protocol for restructuring how you approach walks, because the sniffari is one tool within a larger framework. The first thing to understand is that you do not have to choose between structure and sniffing. You can have both. The goal is not to eliminate all training expectations from your walks. The goal is to shift the ratio dramatically in favor of sensory exploration. A good framework is the 80-20 principle. 80% of every walk is sniff time. Your dog leads. You follow. No pace, no destination. 20% can be structured if your dog needs to practice leash manners or if you are in an environment where that matters for safety. But the default mode of a walk should be nose-led, not human-led. The second thing to understand is variety. The same route every day is the walk equivalent of the structured heel work in the 2019 study. Familiar routes reduce the density of new information available to your dog. New routes, new neighborhoods, new parks, new patches of trail. These environments are neurologically rich in a way that your usual sidewalk simply cannot match. Even driving your dog 10 minutes to a different street, once or twice a week, provides a dramatically different sensory experience than the same loop every evening. The third thing is what researchers call sniff breaks during structured activities. If you are doing training sessions, hiking, or any activity where your dog is working with you in a focused way, building in deliberate sniff breaks every 10 to 15 minutes serves the same neurological function as the sniffari does in the context of a walk. It gives the reward system a chance to activate. It gives the dog a moment of autonomous choice in an environment where they are otherwise being asked to defer to you. And that experience of choice, of self-determination, is itself neurologically significant. The 2019 study was not just measuring the effect of smell, it was measuring the effect of autonomy. The dogs who improved were not just sniffing more. They were making their own decisions about what to investigate, how long to stay, and where to go next. That experience of agency, of being the one who decides, is what activated the dopamine pathway. It is what produced the shift toward optimism. And it is something that a perfectly controlled, perfectly obedient leash walk can never provide, no matter how well executed it is. Let me bring this all the way back to where we started. Your dog is not restless when you get home because you walk them for too short a time. Your dog is restless when you get home because the walk you gave them engaged their cardiovascular system without ever engaging their brain. You burned their fuel without ever satisfying their hunger. The walk is not a bathroom break. The walk is not a cardio session. The walk is the only part of your dog's day where they step out of your human world and get to fully inhabit their own canine one. It is the only time they get to be investigators, readers, navigators, and explorers. It is the only time their most sophisticated biological system, the olfactory system that their entire brain is organized around, gets to do what it was built to do. And every time you tug the leash and pull them away from a scent they were not finished with, you are interrupting that. You are telling them that their world is less important than your schedule. Tomorrow morning or tonight, try something different. Leave 10 minutes earlier than you think you need to. Let them choose the direction. When they stop, you stop. When they sniff, you wait. Pay attention to what happens in the 24 hours after a walk where you gave them full olfactory freedom compared to a walk where you kept them at pace. Watch their behavior when you get home. Watch how long the calm lasts. Watch their eyes when they settle down. The evidence is not in a study. It is in your dog. It has always been in your dog. You just now have the framework to see it. If this permanently changed how you think about your daily walk, hit subscribe and leave a comment below telling me the one spot on your usual route where your dog always stops no matter what, and how long they usually stay there. I read every single comment, and the next video is going to take on one of the most stubborn myths in dog training. The idea that if you let your dog win at tug of war, you are handing them control of your household. The study that debunked this idea has been sitting in the scientific literature for over 20 years, and almost nobody in the training world is talking about it. See you there.